Once upon a time, before there was time, before the big, before the bang, before the beginning or end, when there was still no horizon, stretching over a primordial terrain that was thirsty for a drop of rain. It was long before the wrong and right, and a man that walked upright, and even before the spark of light. Yet there was a gleam of something bright, which is not a falling star on a dark night, but a spark of a brilliant thought with emotion that had spun the nothing into an everlasting motion. A thought that lacks any tangible dimension became the origin and source of the intelligent creation. Suddenly, the silence was broken. The word of wisdom had been spoken. Then, the idea was perceived, and with life the being was conceived. Now, out of the state of timeless pause, finally emerged an order made of rules and laws. And from that moment on, everything has evolved almost on its own. An invisible quark began its journey through the dark. Protons, neutrons, and electrons have joined a high-speed race, while their orbital traces formed a lace, from which these particles began to weave a cloth of universal space. Then, by the law and order, and in a strict pattern, a pure thought had been transformed into matter. All these little specks of energy and matter went on swirling, going round and round until the center of gravity they found. Now, all this mix of elements of matter, which has formed the cosmic dust and dirt, finally have come together to compose the cosmic bodies and to erect the planet Earth. And the Earth was born, yet it is still in its infancy, making its first wobbly turn into the dark of the abyss from which there is no return. But the Earth is not alone, it will not be lost in space, because the Maker's presence is upon the water's face, and always ready to embrace. Suddenly, the spark of enlightenment had activated a web of streaming thoughts, and by calculating all the odds, and with great delight, the words of wisdom came out. Let there be light. And there it is, an endless night, was brightened by the photonic light, and out of joy and love for a living light, the Maker has decided to divide between the creative force of a blazing ray, which had been ordered to become a day, and a cold darkness that blinds the sight, which is simply marked as night. Since that distant moment and on, the light already knew how to go on and how to go off, and everything was now better off. So, there was evening, and there was morning, and the first phase of the creative thought was completed. Indeed, it was a marvelous day. Yet since then, a wise man and a wiseacre were left in total disarray, arguing whether all these could be done only in one day. One takes the ancient words literally, through both of his ears. The other claims that all these have taken at least a few billion years. But to be polite, none of them is right, and there is no reason to argue or fight, because it is not for a man to decide on the length of the day or the depth of the night, or a destiny of the beaming light. Instead, we should all agree that this realm of wonders and wondering is one infinite web without a beginning or end, in which we have all been caught, and which cannot be escaped or fought, because it is simply a dimension of the maker's thought.